Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. With week 5 in the books, we can finally say welcome to Butt Fumble with Brandon and Travis. First of all, Brandon, man, you have been engaged in some serious contract negotiations between publishers here at Butt Fumble. Thank you for landing that plane so we can produce the podcast again.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's always really complicated when you're talking about several commas in a contract negotiation. The three comma club is really what it's all about. And so just shout out to my agent, Mickey Williams, for, putting my interests above all yours.
Yep, absolutely. Mickey came over earlier this week and carved some pumpkins with us and the family. His was just a big dollar sign, which I love to see. I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. Yep.
Now let's do what we've all been waiting for. Let's review the games and matchups from week 5 of America's premier fantasy league, the G League. What game are we looking at first this week, Brandon?
Boy, Trav, to start us off, let's of course talk about my game. You had Turn Your Head and Cup, which is a new name, by the way. It felt significant and appropriate given the start to the season. Look for more name changes as the season progresses. Against
I like it.
Against I Chase Young Kids. And really, Trav, I mean, the truth is here that this really wasn't much of a game. I Turn Your Head and Cup, i.e. me, wound up putting a league high 171 points compared to the 130 for I Chase Young Kids. Top scorers, Derrick Henry, Mike Williams. TB12 rebounded from a miserable game last week against his former team, the Patriots. He decided to go out there and throw for about 400 yards and 4 touchdowns and put up 37 points, which helped lead his team to victory. Now, for I Chase Young Kids, not much in his favor. Danny Dimes didn't come through. 19 points. Good game, though, in a Giants loss to Dallas. Devonta Smith, the rookie, Justin Jefferson coming away with a couple points as well. But ultimately, you just can't keep up. That's why they pay me the 3 commas.
That's right. I think I Chase Young Kids, which is a daring name in this political climate. Obviously facing some challenges with McCaffrey being injured and on the bench. I know there are some QB questions. I've been hearing some trade rumors out there. Be on the lookout. Otherwise, good luck in the next week. Let's move on to game number 2. Where are we at?
Ooh, game number 2. Let's talk about the Eric experience. Going up against the champ. A gridlocked 3-2 battle this week,
which is impressive because both of those teams started 0-2 in this league, and they've bounced back heartily.
It's true, Trav. You're looking at 2 potential playoff teams here, which down the stretch this game could be significant. The champ, though, came away with the victory, 142 to 132. Najee Harris put the team on his back this year, along with Austin Eckler. And shout out to the Browns defense in that game, really pulling Austin Eckler into the end zone. Might have actually given the champ the win over the Eric.
I think so. I think you're right. I mean, it's hard to imagine having Herbert put up almost 43 points and still losing. But that's why this is a premier league. This is why it's competitive. You got to be ready for anything.
Yeah, you got to go out there and earn your stripes. You saw that play, though, right, where Austin Eckler tried to take a knee at the 2, and the defense pulled him into the end zone to get the ball back.
Yeah, pretty amazing. That's that high-level football that we all love to see, especially as we're coming into mid-season. My big question mark as I look at the Eric experience, he's been facing not only on-the-field challenges, but off-the-field challenges. You've got the move away from his longtime platform of choice, Yahoo, over to ESPN, as well as he's the only one who still, I believe, is operating his team from a Nextel walkie-talkie phone. That's tough to do. We're trusting him, being the only Android in the group, to accept that he's, chosen these maybe heightened challenges for himself, and so far
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah, it's very true. You also have to wonder what kind of an effect his really subpar golf game has on the fantasy football experience. I've been told that can lead to some real anxiety, depression issues.
Yeah,
Which plays a factor in the game of fantasy football. You have to be mentally tough to
you're
succeed.
right. You're right, and it is worth noting. I did just get a little note in my ear from our producer, Pete Yearling, who is the champ. He runs the champ. He is under a pending investigation because he's a principal, and we're getting some intel that might suggest there is a fourth grader running his fantasy team for him, which would obviously be a violation. More on that next week. Let's move on to game 3.
Yeah, game 3, Gravy Nady and the Pizza Hut Pepperoni Boys. Trav, I think this is a shame game of the week, if I'm
This
not
is our
mistaken.
shame game of the week, which of course is the designation we've given this season to anyone who plays against the Pizza Hut Pepperoni Boys, run by Gage Radis. This is this week's shame game of the week.
Yeah, it's a free victory, really, in my opinion. Gravy Nady, though, coming up with a strong performance, the second most points scored this week, second only to yours truly, of course, which is the tail that everyone seems to be chasing this year. But Andrews, Devontae Adams, even homeboy Lion, DeAndre Swift were the top performers in this league. Trav, I think you might have actually been one of the benefactors to that Baltimore Ravens game as well this week, and Gravy Nady joins you in that.
Absolutely. It's impressive to see 9 points out of a quarterback, less than 1 point out of Saquon, who's, of course, injured. We're still waiting to hear the news on that ankle injury. 3 points out of a defense, and he still puts up 161 points. That's impressive. I'm noticing also the Pizza Hut Pepperoni Boys are once again struggling with team management. We've seen this ever since the unorthodox 3 straight tight ends off the front end at the draft this year. That's a tough decision to make. We saw a little bit of early success, but now we're starting to believe that's a fluke. Tell me, what do you think the rest of the season looks like for the Pizza Hut Pepperoni Boys?
Not great. They're trending in a very negative direction. If I look at the final standing projection brought to you by Snickers, if you're hungry, grab a Snickers. They are trending in the wrong direction. Although I will say they started off the league projected to finish absolutely last in 10th place out of 10. They have inched their way up a couple of spots, but Bigford, he's making a run at the shame game title. So it'll be interesting down the stretch to see where these two teams fall.
I like it. All right, let's move on to game number 4.
Yeah, game 4, West Coast Stafford and Dirkus Circus. This one was a barn burner.
Absolutely.
There is some investigation into the validity of the ending for this game. West Coast Stafford does happen to be the league administrator, so this is pending external review. It's also been stated that Lamar Jackson was high on cinnamon twist from Taco Bell this week, which as you know was added to the banned substance list at the beginning of the season. So more to come on that, but.
Really, what I find incredible is if Justin Tucker finds a way to kick more field goals, this game is over and Dirkus Circus wins. I look at this game and personally, I just want to say to Dirk, really admirable try. Really good try, man. Really good try. That's what I just would like to say. Maybe next time. I feel like I hold my title as bench king. I feel like I'm in first place for bench points once again, but that's all right. That just tells me I'm one step away from cracking the code. Dirk, by the way, is part of our 7-way tie for first place right now, so we got a lot locked up.
Yeah, that game had some serious implication in the standings. You mentioned our 7-way tie for first. So, if you're not in first, you're probably in 8th.
That's right. Well said. Well said. All right, let's move on to the final game this week.
Yeah, a little stitious, which another name change. This one was really concerning out of the gate. I thought maybe it was a reference to Star Wars with a little
Yeah.
Sidious, if you
Yeah.
recall.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that there's clarity. But yeah, a little stitious came up big against Bigford, who we mentioned is really competing for the title of shame game of the week. Alvin Kamara with a major bounce back game has been relatively underperforming with the absence of Drew Brees this year. Patty Mahomes also not having the year that everyone thought he would. And ultimately, Ben is, or a little stitious, is just under some seriously questionable management. So we've really been seeing that unfold. Although fortunately he is part of that 7-way tie for first. So more to come on how leadership there is responding, and hopefully there are no more leaked emails out of that camp.
Yeah, for sure. We look back at preseason, and a little stitious was one of the favorites to be a championship runner. So the question we have to ask right now is this going to be a boom or bust season? Right now, I'm leaning more towards bust. Seems like the decisions coming from the top. I don't know. I don't know that I trust him the way I thought I would. But we got a lot of season left, which leads us to this week's big question: can Team Bigford recover? That's this week's big question.
I once heard a story about Team Bigford. It involved some whiskey and a large expedition. I won't go into more details, but I think that the outcome of that story has a lot to do with where this team ends up at the end of the season.
I agree. On paper, they have a solid team. They're running up against some issues. Dalvin Cook is questionable. Is he going to come back in this upcoming week? He obviously sat out against the Lions. Going up against a strong Panthers defense, you could see a lot of action out of him. I think the big question, I know Jim Bigford personally, the big question with Jim, it's always been this, is can he actually read? If we can find a way to answer that question, is he just looking at his phone and making guesses at a bunch of unknowable symbols, or is he interpreting the letters on the page? That to me is the key for Team Bigford.
Yeah, I think
Last thing.
That's a valid point. I've seen Jim wear some questionable outfits lately, and I have to ask myself the question: does he know what he's doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And then finally, let's wrap this plane up. Week 5 of Butt Fumble with Brandon and Travis. Here is the question I want to ask you, Brandon. What's the matchup to watch?
Boy, the matchup this week, it's a personal favorite of mine. You've got Big Brother, Little Brother. Also, the shame game of the week. A lot on the line for West Coast Stafford. Not only his dignity and his identity as a male, but also there's implication at home with the family. He may have to tee off with his pants down.
That's right. That's right. There's a lot going on. Obviously, going up against my little brother, my little brother, for this week's matchup to watch. Also, the shame game. I've got a lot of good feelings going into it. Brandon, good luck to you as we enter into week 6. Good luck to everybody else. Tune in next week for Butt Fumble with Brandon and Travis.